Welcome to the Wizards of Ecom, your no-fluff playbook for online success. Each episode is fully packed with actionable tactics you can implement in your business right now. Take your life to a higher level and excel in your online success. It's time to work on you and your business. Let's do this. Welcome back to the Wizards of Ecom. My name is Carlos Alvarez, and I'll be your host for the show. On today's episode, I have an amazing guest on the show, the founder of Sellers Funding, Ricardo Pero. Welcome to the show, Ricardo.
Hey, Carlos. How are you?
Amazing.
Great to be here.
Absolutely. Very happy for you to spare some of your very busy schedule with me on this show. I've invited you on the show so you could teach myself. I'm going to be the student here. You're going to teach me and the army of listeners of this show about a new powerful insights and inventory trends tool that Amazon sellers can take advantage of within Sellers Funding called Seller Signals. While this is the first time for you on the show, we've met, just giving some context to listeners, we've met several times in person, everything from, empire building, coffee to Amazon seller meetup groups. You've presented in person to the Wizards of Amazon meetup group here in Miami, Florida, on a really cool panel with Lillian Roberts from Zendu. And you've played a critical part in the success of the ecom community here in South Florida. I can say that's probably the most fascinating and impressive thing that you do from where I stand. And I know I speak for all the listeners and members of my group when we say thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
We're going to dive into Sellers Signals. That extra S throws me when I pronounce it, Sellers Signals. And I guess maybe we get into that in a bit. I keep saying Seller Signals, but we're going to dive into Seller Signals in a moment. But while I know that Sellers Funding is great, I know what you offer. I know what you offer is way beyond a basic Amazon disbursement advance. I know a seller can throw on. The other part is I know a seller can throw a rock nowadays and hit some form of I'll loan you money service in the Amazon space. So I wanted to sort of hear it from like the maestro himself. What is Sellers Funding, and why did you decide to help ecom sellers in this way?
Sure. Sellers Funding, I would say it's an evolving platform. It's an evolving financial platform. We started the business about 4 years ago, and the whole idea was to support e-commerce sellers and more specifically Amazon sellers back then in their cash management or working capital needs, right? But soon we evolved, and why I say that, it's all about the customer experience, right? And when we learn about our customers and how they evolve, I realized, our most successful customers, once they graduate, and the graduation means something different for anyone, but I would say ballpark, once they surpass a certain threshold of sales, they start looking for ways to invest in their brand, diversify away from Amazon. And then what we did was, if we want to work with these guys and if we want to differentiate ourselves, we'd like to consolidate sales across different platforms. And that's what we did. So we had Amazon, then we added Shopify, Walmart, eBay, BigCommerce, Magento, and you name it. So we have several platforms that we have a digital connection. The entire onboarding process for our platform is completely digitalized. And once the sellers finalize the onboarding, they can pick and choose what services they can use. We started with working capital solutions. We added payment solutions. We added services like daily advance for Walmart and Amazon sellers. And we expanded abroad. So in my mind, not only consolidating different platforms, but the idea of working in multiple countries, because e-commerce is an international phenomenon. You are a small business sitting here in Florida, and you can sell in the UK, you can sell in Canada. We were just talking about a client of yours selling in Canada, right? So Australia, you name it. And if you don't have the ability to support your customers in different locations, in different marketplaces, you're going to be missing a huge opportunity. And that's how the company works. That's our mindset.
What were those, like, taking it even further back? Like, what were those initial sellers? Like, how did you get introduced to those early sellers to understand that this was a problem? More so that this is such a problem, I'm going to create, maybe you didn't even have a name for it yet, but because of what I've identified here, I'm going to create sellers funding. Like, how did you get that experience with those sellers to understand this?
I was actually performing a consulting job. After many years working for big banks, I decided to take a break. And a friend of mine who was selling through his own website, moved to Amazon, gave me a call and said, man, I was selling $50,000 a month. Now I'm selling $500,000 a month. Amazon is holding my payments. I'm growing quite fast. I have no clue the fees they charge me. I need to reorganize my finances. So I said, okay, easy, right? It must be easy. Multi-billion-dollar industry, Amazon, everybody knows. I'm going to go back and talk to the banks that I used to work with or work for. So to my surprise, banks had no clue how to underwrite that risk, had no or very limited credit solutions. And I learned through time that most sellers, they start their business financing their working capital out of their personal credit card. And some of them, they go to an MCA company that will probably charge them an arm and a leg. And probably half of those sellers won't even be growing at the pace that they're supposed to grow because of the financial costs that they incur working with these MCA companies. So the idea for me was to kind of learn from their experience. We started in 2017. And back then I was working, first I got introduced to a bunch of sellers through this friend of mine who had a close network in New York. Also, I work closely with Marketplace Pulse. Joe was a great supporter from the beginning. So it was great, providing great insights about the industry and trends. And that's how we started.
That's amazing. I know Joe as well. Amazing guy. I caught him one time when he came through Miami. He swung by the office, and I can't pronounce his last name, right? I want to make sure we're talking about the same person. Yeah, it is, right?
Joe from Marketplace Pulse.
Yes, that's
the best way to refer to him.
If you know, then you know.
Yeah.
Were you ever tempted in those early days when you saw this person and he's like, I sell on Amazon, and he put up these huge numbers? Were you ever tempted to say, like, let me launch a product like that? Did that ever tempt you?
I would say yes and no.
Okay.
I mean, many times you saw, I mean, what I've seen is that most successful sellers, they have a product they can relate to, and they have a passion about it. And my passion back then was sellers funding. My passion now is sellers funding, and that's what I love doing. So, and I've been working like 12, 15 hours a day since I started business, and I wouldn't have time to dedicate to any other business.
I think that passion is most easily seen in the array of products that sellers funding actually has when you could see it on the site. You said the ever evolving solution. I wouldn't be shocked to know that there's this really long roadmap of things that are in the pipeline that you're cooking on the back end to roll out and help sellers. One thing before we really get into the seller signals specifically, one thing I wanted to say in case anybody misunderstood, you do have a digitized platform, but correct. I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of the people on the sellers funding team, and I know there's also a very personal touch, that personalized touch that's involved with that. Can you touch on that? So when someone goes on the platform, if they need to speak to somebody at Sellers Funding, how does that work? Is that possible?
Yeah, I really believe that technology helps us to make better decisions and help us through the customer journey when they are applying for a loan or they're instructing a payment to a supplier through our platform. So the idea is that technology will make your life easier, but the human aspect is always there. If you look at our Trustpilot reviews, you're going to notice that folks, they refer to their account managers by name. They sometimes they say, okay, you know, the application was really easy. It took me a few minutes. And XYZ was Felipe, Cathy, Alfredo, Mario, Eric was there to support me through the whole time. And this is amazing. And this is something that we want to promote because our account managers, they know their clients. I mean, we went to Prosper, and I remember this is our 4th year there. I remember my first year was I was there with Fabio, my partner, and people would look at us and say, "Well, who are these crazy, two crazy Brazilians with that heavy accent trying to self-funding to Amazon sellers?" Right? And then the second year was a little easier. And I mean, this year we went to Prosper and we had like 7 people in the team, and we have lines. I mean, people were lining up to talk to their account manager or to talk to us, and that's amazing. I'm so proud of the brand recognition and the support that we've been providing to all the sellers, and this recognition is invaluable.
If that was a course that businesses could use, you could 100%, you guys could write the book. I swung by ASGTG and I didn't recognize a lot of the booths there, to be honest. I saw you guys, I saw Alfredo, like I lit up. I also got to see, I got to meet Eric. It's like this, he's like Viking and Cuban. He's like the coolest guy in the world, booming voice. It was great to meet him as well. But
yeah.
let's jump into the meat and potatoes, seller signals. So when like I was speaking to you about this before we hit record, and that is, I learned about seller signals. Actually, I feel like I got to scold myself, but I learned about it from an ad, and I saw this ad, and you really had me at inventory trends. Like that's it. I was sold right there. Signals and inventory trends in the same sentence. That's the sexiest thing in the world for me as a business owner. And I jumped over to the site. I didn't even want to click on the ad. He's like, I don't want to cost Sellers Funding anything. I just jump over to the site. I look at it. You guys help sellers with working capital, daily cash advances, business cards, VAT, GST, digital wallet. Why was Seller Signals your next product? And what is it? And how does it play well with the rest of your products?
Yeah, the idea is to position ourselves as a true partner, not necessarily being perceived as a lender of choice. I honestly believe that providing business insights will and support our sellers and our clients to make smarter, better decisions will be mutually beneficial to us and to them. Seller Signals was created. We have data. Our credit models rely on sales data and sales trends. So why not share some of these trends and some of the conclusions that we have with our clients? That was the whole idea. So from clients, sometimes they don't have a sense of what's their P&L. They don't have a sense of what products are contributing more to their bottom line. I mean, the idea is to create tools where they can measure performance, where they can see what are the top selling products and compare the top selling products. Are these profitable? And are they driving profit to you, or they are just dragging a cash burn to your company? And And also you can measure there the contribution to different marketplaces. You can measure your margins, comparing margins in if you're selling multiple marketplaces, multiple locations, you can compare margins across marketplaces. And you will be able to see your risk rating and the evolution of your risk rating according to our evaluation, and the products that you're most likely pre-approved for. And in the end, there is, I'll call this is the cherry on the top of the cake. We are all seeing this crazy trend of aggregators and folks preparing their companies for an exit, right? We are working with a few aggregators and our idea is to improve a little bit more evaluation tool that is there. And the idea is for you to create that mindset. Okay, what's your valuation and what can be done for you to drive your valuation higher, right? So it's not a matter, you start from a P&L, you go to an attribution model, you can check what products you have available and the risk assessment that we have on your company. And in the end, you have the valuation tool. And the valuation tool is probably useful for folks that are thinking about an exit. And they can work with us on finding ways to improve that.
That's a lot. You know what it reminded me of? I know totally different businesses. You know Yanni Mazur from Gatita.
Yeah.
He also does a lot to support the community down here, Wizards of Amazon, Wizards of Ecom. And in one of our initial calls, he mentioned how the majority of what they do is actually out towards helping sellers be better sellers and understand what's going on, because technically it's a win-win-win. The better you do and the more the better armed you are with what's going on in your business, the more you're going to sell. And the more you're going to sell, the more I can help you with funding to help you grow exponentially. So it's almost like this flywheel of success that you create. And when you were explaining it right now, that's what came to mind, was how this would actually help sellers and how it's a huge win for everyone involved. You mentioned what can be done, like something that can be done. Someone can look at this data and they can then track things that they do and to see if I'm saying this right, their valuation almost of a business grow. I know Seller Signals is relatively new, but do you have any examples yet, without sharing a brand name or anything confidential? Do you have any examples yet of somebody who, like a situation that they did blank to see the evaluation increase by blank?
Not yet. I would say at the end, like you said, it's quite new, but we help some sellers decide which market to expand.
Can you unpack that a little bit? Like, how did you help them decide which?
Yeah, because we had a client that was planning to go to Canada and UK first, and he asked, about working capital solutions and what would take for him to expand his credit limit with us based on his existing sales, and he was already maxing out that credit limit. But then what we did was we provide him first of all, if you're going to the UK, I know that Amazon and the European Communion has its own challenges, but UK and Germany are about the same size, the same opportunity. We are talking about different currencies. So we opened for him a digital bank account in Canada, one in the UK, and one in Europe for him to sell in Germany. And then we are providing him a daily advance solution where we advance in local currency, in euros, pounds, and CADs. We convert that back into dollars, and we make that cash flow available to him on a daily basis. With that, he was able to expand much quicker in these countries without having to rely on or on his own, on the cash flow that was generated here. He was able to redeploy the money quite fast. That was one solution that we brought to this guy. That happened 3 months ago. His credit limit since then increased by about 10%. I would say seasonality is also playing a role because we are approaching that fourth quarter of the year, and most of our credit limits are being expanded because of the holiday season anyway.
Makes sense. What type of seller, or no, how about, let's take a step back before we get to what type of seller. Yeah, well, this could work. What type of seller and how much does it cost to use seller signals? Like, what's the process like?
Oh, there's no cost. If you are a client of Sellers Funding, if you have your registered token there, you have access to, you need to link your store to have access to the data and to all the reports. But at this point, there's no cost. Go ahead.
And forgive my ignorance here. So to be able to get, and this is from somebody listening to this as well, that maybe has not had an opportunity yet to work with Sellers Funding, to make that connection between their account and Sellers Funding, does that mean they have to have already qualified for money? No. Or taken money from Sellers Funding? How does that work?
No, you need to complete the registration process. You're gonna tell us who you are and tell a little bit about your business. You're gonna connect your store to our platform, and that's it. At the end of the process, if you have signals, if you run the analysis, and you're gonna see that you are qualified. What are your chances to be qualified for XYZ? And then out of that, you can choose to complete the application. Some of our clients, they take, on average, clients take about 2 to 3 months to apply since they register. It's kind of interesting statistics, but
that's like the dating stage. Like, we met, we're dating a little bit, or we're talking back and forth on the phone, and before we take that first date, it takes about 2-3 months.
And it's very helpful because they can plan in advance if they want to develop a new line of business, or they can plan in advance, talk to their supplier and say, okay, I'd like to purchase XYZ, because they know that they have already that credit limit secured. So having that lead time is quite important.
So sort of to recap with Seller Signals, I can just open an account with Sellers Funding, get connected with my account, and even if I'm not ready, first of all, I'd be able to see what I qualify for.
Correct.
But even if I'm not ready, regardless of what happens in that stage, I can begin with my account connected, checking out inventory trends and what's working best in my business right now with Seller Signals for free.
Yes.
Okay. I love that word at the end, for free. I guess, right? You mentioned the A word, aggregators, right? So I don't know if partnering is the right word, but you're collaborating with several aggregators. Is that fair?
Yes.
And the goal is what there with their participation with Sellers Funding? Are they able to, they're obviously not able to see what's going on in Sellers Funding unless the seller wants, right? But correct. Is the idea to sort of, the seller sort of says, I'm trying to get that, like the seller says, oh, wow, my business could be valuated at this. Wow, that's interesting. Now that number, you're thinking about it, and Sellers Funding can connect you with a reputable aggregator?
We are going that direction. We are exploring this introduction model with some aggregators. And our relationship with aggregators, some of these aggregators, they use our platform for their cash management purposes. So they receive funds from Amazon, they pay their suppliers using our digital platform. Some of these aggregators bought companies that were financed by us, and we continue finance, and we just expanded the line to these brands. So yeah, the relationship it goes both ways. And some aggregators, sometimes they talk to a client or to a potential target. The company is not quite there yet. It probably would need another leg of funding to reach a sales level that would entertain the aggregators. So we finance that growth. So aggregators, they refer a lot of business our way too.
How is the evaluation expressed? Like on the dashboard, is it more like, yes, you qualify, no, you don't, or is it,
it's a range.
We think you could get this?
Yeah.
How is it?
It's gonna give you a range based on the estimated cash flow. We're gonna say, yeah, we believe that your company can be worth, between 1 and 2 million, or 1 and 1.5 million.
Also, it goes as far as assigning a dollar value to that.
Yeah.
That's wicked. Like a little side story. So I've never started a business, I guess the correct way, in the sense that everyone says start with the end in mind. I've never done that. Like I start businesses emotionally connected, and I'm imagining my great grandkids working the business. But I can say that in one of my early businesses, or one of the early businesses that I exited, somebody asked me, are you selling your business? And I'm like, no, never. I'd never sell my business. Right. And the person's like, look, we think it could be, and they gave me this range. They hadn't seen the books or anything. They gave me this range. I could never shake that number. Every single day, just walking around, that number like eats at you. So, and it wound up being what I needed to make what was a very good decision. And that was to exit in that company. That's awesome. I can't wait to check out the dashboard myself. Is there something about the seller signals, like the inventory trends dashboard, that you feel like a question that I've not asked that I should have?
I think that the inventory tool linked to the attribution report for SKU is extremely helpful.
Can you break that down? You used SKU and attribution in the same sentence. So like,
yeah, because you see which products are contributing the most to your bottom line and the margin per product. So I think that, and when you compare that with the data that you have in the inventory tab, and you can say, okay, for that top selling product, you have enough inventory to run through the holiday season, or you don't have that. That's extremely helpful, because you can start thinking, okay, how can I optimize my inventory management? I mean, we've seen what's happening with China. We've seen what's happening with the supply chain disruption, I would say. Everything got so much more expensive. You got more delays. And I mean, having additional information to support your decision-making, I think is always helpful and more critical now than ever.
Well said. And container prices and everything involved has just exploded in cost. I think I know the answer to this, and it's probably, wait and see, but I feel like, at least for the listeners and everything, I have to at least ask. And that is, are you able to give a hint at anything else that's on the seller's funding roadmap as far as things to come in the future?
We are, so for those sellers who sell outside of e-commerce, or they have their brand and they sell directly to retailers, we are about to launch an invoice factoring solution for them. It's completely automated too. So this is probably happening in the next 30 to 60 days. We already have a few clients connected in the platform working there.
Oh, that is nice. Does that mean like Amazon or Walmart is my customer and they're buying sort of 1P? That is amazing. That's a huge pain point of sellers. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, so that's the number one. And then we have a few surprises for next year.
All right. Maybe maybe we can have coffee again sometime soon and I can get those other surprises out of you.
Yeah.
But a huge thank you for coming on the show. I want to be respectful of your time. Best way to 2 questions and then we go back to our day. But one is, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Sure.
And 2, what is your favorite book and why?
Okay. Go to our website, sellersfunding.com. Happy to answer any emails, schedule one-on-one meetings. My email is ricardo@sellersfunding.com. Talking about favorite book, I'll tell you the last book I read. It was What It Takes from Steven Schwartzman. It's a long book, but it's a great story from someone that had I somehow can relate, because it's someone that comes from experience in banking and decided to start its own business, and then we all know what happened after that. But yeah, it's a great book, comes with great stories, and the mindset of being a successful business manager, but also think about philanthropic initiatives, and having that mindset, for me, it's quite important.
And the book's called What It Takes?
Yes.
Sounds awesome. We're going to wrap up. Huge thank you for coming on the show. I look forward to having you on the show again in the future, as well as connecting down here in South Florida or any other conferences that I'm sure we're going to see each other at the remainder of this year. So thank you so much. And
thank you.
Talk to you next week.
My pleasure. Thank you.
It was fun sharing this episode with you. If you found value in what you've heard, please show your love with a subscribe, rate, and review of the show. Until next time.